if, like they say, if we on an infinite plane, what's holding it up?
Right.
Right. But the only way it can be infinite if it's the product of the mind. The mind don't have a limit. So you can't put a limit on what the mind can perceive. Right? But soon as somebody put a limit on it, that's an agreed upon manifestation of that part of creation.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Like the concept of heaven.
Yeah, that's Earth is heaven when we get the
Yeah.
imposters out.
The imposters.
It has to happen that way though. Right? Because we got to be able to see the deceiver when the deceiver coming, and then we got to be able to show you how they was giving out the deception. And then once you can see it, it doesn't work for them no more. They can't trick nobody no more. They game exposed now.
That's how they are right now. Like you were saying earlier about the finances and stuff and everything crashing. Yeah, people figured it out. So once it got figured out, there's no use for it anymore.
Right. So once it runs its course is over.
Right.
Yeah. So before the invasion, women didn't have to wear no clothes if they didn't want to. They wasn't getting raped. To what they call today primitive cultures. The women don't have to wear no clothes. They ain't getting raped unless it's somebody from outside of their community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the difference. That's what we're trying to get back to the beginning, back to the haven called Earth instead of the hell called Earth.
Mm. It's like, okay, when you say it like that, that kind of reminds me of what they call it, the 3D, 5D split. I just say the dimensions merging at the same time. It's them separating themselves. So it's like you have the hell version of heaven and the heaven version of heaven. Would you say that all correlates?
So what happens is this: the 3D world, we want it to be here so we can experience finding our balance. The part we didn't want in the 3D world was the upsetting of the balance by the imposters. They came in and threw a monkey wrench in the good working program.
Right.
Because with that, they enslaved everybody. Right? Now, we at the part where they got to find somewhere to be because they can't stay here. And we go back to as it was in the beginning. And it's the close of the age, so shall it be in the end. So in order to close out the age, you got to take it back to the beginning, back to its purest nature.
Mm. Mm. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess that's like one of the reasons why, like, the way that things are working now with the mix of generations, I'm seeing it's really a mix of things. It'll be like generation X and Y, they're onto certain things because they understand, oh, flip-flop. This is what we did in the Matrix. This is how we're doing it when we're more spiritual and in tune. Versus it's like generation Z, and then I'm seeing like the babies and stuff, generation Alpha. It's more like this is just the way that this goes.
I'm glad you brought up Generation Z.
Hey.
Right, because Generation Z, when you go through the alphabet, what's the last letter?
Z. According to this alphabet.
Look, in the Greek alphabet, it's Omicron. Omicron is the small o for the omega. Omega. Remember, from alpha to omega. That means from beginning to end.
Okay. Yep.
From A to O. But in English, it's not A to O, it's A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
And now we on Generation Z. Well, what would make them call this Generation Z?
It's the last one. That's it.
The
Well,
gig is up.
okay. It's yeah, like it's wrapping up their series of generations that they had. Then the fact that they made the next one Alpha, then the one after Alpha is gonna be Omega. I don't think they have a name for the one that's supposed to be after that, but it is what it is. I'm Gen Z. My son's Generation Alpha. His child, well, depending on how things go, because whatever. But the next kids, they will be Generation Omega.
Because now they're going backwards. They're going backwards with the alphabet. They exhausted the English alphabet. Now they have to go backwards to the Greek. Because the English alphabet is derived from the Greek alphabet. Right? So when we say alphabet, we saying alpha, beta. That's 2 Greek letters.
Right.
Right? So it's called the alpha beta system. The alpha beta system is from alpha to omega in Greek, but it's from A to Z in English. Right? So that the way that they deceive us is with vowels, the interchanging of vowels in translation. And that's how they can use a term like more as a all-inclusive term for varying different groups of people. And we have to identify the ones that's us, the good more. It was. And that's the fear of the old system. But it got to go down. The old system has to fall for the new system to rise.
Right.
They said they fucking with the live. Doesn't surprise me.
Oh yeah, it was cracking up. It was. I heard that last good sentence 100% clearly. Before that, it was choppy.
I'm gonna let you drop down, Ellie. I'm gonna take another caller before I go.
All right then. Peace and unity.
Thank you for
to
coming
you.
on.
I love you.
I love you
show.
too.
How you doing, brother?
What's going on with you? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Oh, discernment. You call me Dub, but I'm up here in Tacoma, Washington.
For sure, far west.
Yeah. But you hit home on something earlier. You made me think, and when the other guy was on talking to you, and you said connect with your tribe, and I had never thought about that as far as the area I was born in, and so I just remember the name Cahokia was always a name or that stood out to me as a youngster, and so I'm like, what can you tell me on that? Because I'm like, I know you that you.
That word is properly pronounced Hayoka. The Hayoka is the priest. For that to be tapping on your door, that would mean that you come from the priest line.
Are you breaking up there? They don't want me to hear this, Rob.
Did you hear any of what I said?
They ain't want me to hear none of that, Rob. I already know how they do. It was like it's I knew that before you even pulled me up, because it was a surprise that you pulled me up, and I was like, oh, okay. See, that's just Big Mama talking, because my cat came to the door, And then next thing I know, I was on with you, and I was like, "Hey, big mama," because I was like, "I need to get out there and get some sunlight," you know. So
Yeah,
I already know.
I was telling you that word is properly pronounced as Hayoka. And the Hayoka is
Hayoka.
our way. Those were our high priests. They didn't live in the village with the rest of the people. They lived out. They called him the medicine man. And because he gets so much energy reads, he can't stay in close proximity to a lot of people. Am I describing you?
Hey, you hitting home, cause so I had this and it come to me in a dream, and I ended up making it. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, copper
you,
ankh.
so you really touching me right now.
Yeah, your energy. I can see your energy causing your electronics to malfunction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you walk barefoot on the dirt?
Yes. Hey, that's one of my things. So my OG, my mom, she ascended on November 1st, right? So I went back to Wisconsin, you know, where everybody is, and they're like, "You just gonna walk around here like that with the slides on?" And cause I like to wear slides, so I can, if I see some grass, some dirt, some rocks or something, you know, I could ground for a little bit. I'm gonna do it. So you walk around like that all the time, and it's like it's about to snow, and I'm like, well, whatever Big Mama going through, I have to go through too. So, hey, it is what it is, you know.
Hey, so then that also activates stuff in your DNA. So yeah, so it's a natural. You a natural. So study all of the spirit information you can get your hands on, especially Vadum.
And say the pronunciation again for me. Uh, uh, Hokia.
Say Hayoka. I seen pictures of Martin sitting in Elijah's living room having a conversation. Who your cousin, sweetie? So Martin discovered that he was being used or misused. There's nothing wrong with being used. It's when you misuse that it's a problem. People always talking about she used me. No, not used. Misuse. Because if you used for what you worth in your own proper context, that's a good thing. When you misuse, that means taking advantage of and putting the position out of context, that's a bad thing. So understand, oh yeah, Vernon Johns was the truth. And he was actually my mama cousin. He was my mama cousin too. Well, it was Becky, my cousin too. But they was related on her father's side, the Johns. My mother's last name was Johns all the way up until she married my father. Right. So I gave me a special interest in his case. Matter of fact, for those who want to know who he is, James Earl Jones played him in the movie about Vernon John. But I knew about him before I seen the movie. But I seen the movie years after it was made too. But I had learned about him studying Martin. I wanted to know what happened to the guy that preceded him. We just disappeared. They kicked him out of the church because he was too militant. So then he started. We might be, sweetie. Um, we traced back to Louisiana, right? the Johns, my grandfather, Hezekiah from he from Macomb, Mississippi. That was his territory, and they divided his land up. Get out of here. Beulah, that was Aunt B, that was my mama's stepmother. So apparently we cousins on our motherfucker. So you gonna have to inbox me so we can put this shit all the way together. Cause Miss B was Aunt Betty's mother. Yep. So anyway, I'm gonna go back into this. So once we get into the 70s, Panthers moving now, right? This is when they start infiltrating what we call gangs. We was tribing up in the late 50s. My mother was what you call a outlaw vice lord biker on the west side of Chicago. This was before you had all of these spin-off groups. So they instituted a cultural thing that we do. It's called a razzle-dazzle, or a flea flicker in football. It's the same thing. Everybody got the ball. We in the huddle. Now scatter. We don't know who got the ball, but one of these niggas got the ball. So my mama sent cousins and sisters to California. She kept some in Chicago. She sent some stayed in Mississippi and Louisiana. Then she ended up moving to Michigan with my father. So this was to keep her sons out of the fray in the fight for power. Because there is no fight for power when we hear. We know where the power goes. We just gonna put it in the right place. If you make something work the way it's supposed to work, it'll last longer and work better than if you use it for something it wasn't meant for. You say your whole family from Macomb? Shit. There's a good chance we related. So there's a tribe of Mississippians called Shoshone. Too Short is tied to that tribe, and the tribal chief actually was my first girlfriend's father, named Sonny Shaw. He was the chief, but he was here. Anyway, the Shaw clan is Shoshone, indigenous Americans. And the Washington family is the Washita. It's the same name changed to fit the English language. So if your last name is Washington, you're a Washita, who is named after George Washington for conquering the Washita, or Wichita. Wichita, Kansas was a stronghold, right? So now we starting to get to the Hall of Records. Now we starting to get to the Halls of Records. Once we get to the Hall of Records, they can't, that's it. So the records is kept. It's just, are we wise enough to get the records back? Leonard mean lion. My uncle named Leonard too, by the way. Oh, the Sparks. Yeah. So we got the Sparks up here. Sister Sparks and Brother Sparks. They got officers as they offspring up here in Pontiac. So the Sparks family come from down there. They Brother Sparks was a dog man. He was teaching me some dog stuff. Okay, so you want to know how to get the records. First of all, you got to know where the records at. The records is in the mountain. And the records is not just records, they what you call your trust documents. And this is where our money at. You have to be agreed to publicly declare ownership of the records as a tribal grid on the land. You have to have what you call historical works to verify your position. Dane Calloway, Malachi York have those indigenous works where they can say, I'm the grid on the land, and this is where our records is in just outside of Kansas City, Kansas. Right? So I talked about it on a Zoom call the other day, but what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to try to figure out how to post clips from it so y'all know exactly where the records is to the trust. When you get the records to the trust, is the records to the money. Because all of our wealth is held in the trust. And the trust is owned by the Catholic Church by papal bulls. When you understand which papal bulls, which I already went through that, but the papal bulls is what kept us separated from our family's wealth, what we call the royal coffers. The royal coffers is all this shit you seen in the museum that they said from Mexico and Egypt and Tibet. That's our shit. But the Catholic Church said we was imbeciles and non-functional as chieftains, and therefore we did not have the ability to hold our own wealth. So they put us on an allowance plan, right? When they put us on the allowance plan, then we had to earn an allowance by working under a slave system until Master gave us a check at the end of the week. We never did that. In the indigenous land, every job was per diem, by the day or by the job. This job paid $400. When you're done, I'm going to give you $400, period. Or if it wasn't that way, it was, if you work with me today, I'm going to give you $400 for today's labor. Whatever we do, don't matter. At the end of the day, when you go home, I'm going to give you $400. No credits. Credit and debt is how they trapped us in slavery. Right? And they only did it using a penal system code of token and reward. What we think is money is not money. It's fiat, which means it's something somebody said had value, but it has no value. So Jones is also Johns, and the Johns, they are kindred clans. Jones and Johns is the same last name in the indigenous language. It's just split in English to tell you that y'all two different people. It's also Jonas, Jonas, and by blood linkage, you are Johnsons, right? The sons of John, and Jones sons, which is the sons of Joneses, and all of these names. Our culture is tied up in the last names because they couldn't just take it, right? The last name I got from my father, Hayes, is really a short form of Hayoka. And it's pronounced in the indigenous tongue as Haya. So when you hear them dancing around the fire saying, hey, hey, they calling for the Hayoka priests. Right? But they can't call for a Hayoka priest unless they call for him a counterpart. Right? So now you were seeing why they were saying it's a voodoo song, oh yeah, yemaya, oh yeah, yemaya. It's the old songs. It's all of our shit. The tailors were the families that made clothes. There was a whole priesthood of tailors. They was literally tailors. That's what they did as a profession. The Brown clan originate in what you call the Northwest Territory in the Ohio Valley. That's why the Native American Cleveland is named after his name Cleveland Browns is because they are Ohio tribe from the Northwest Territories. The cannons were part of a military contingent who literally controlled the cannons. Now the cannons in Chicago are a group of boosters, or what we would call them in Eurocentric, they thieves, but they only steal high-end shit, like cars and boats and shit. But the cannons don't play. Them the wrong motherfuckers to fuck with. And yep, I got people in Yazoo, Mississippi. Oh, John Sally know what's up. He know what's up with the fam. I didn't see him talk about it before. He know he one of us. Same as Isaiah Thomas. He keep telling these motherfuckers we ain't come on no ship. Look, freelance specialists, we don't care how hard it takes us to get our shit back as long as we're willing to fight for it. We ain't backing down. We don't expect them motherfuckers to go easy and give it up easy, because if it was easy, it'd have been done already. Yes, but any movie you see with a museum scene, listen. Everything in the museum scene is telling you something about your history. Everything in the museum movie. Any movie got something to do with a museum. It's a secret in there about your history. Look, all of the Freedom of Information Act request is asking your enemy to give you your shit. They're only going to give you what they want you to have. But when you understand the divine right of kings, and all you have to do is identify the location of your records, you just captured your records. And this is by the grandfather clause. This is the law that they can't usurp. It's the laws of Ma'at. The ancient code of kings is written out of the laws of Ma'at, based off the laws of nature. Right? We codified it in Kemet, in the Mississippi Delta, in the Azteca pyramids, in the Mayan pyramids. We codified that shit. We wrote it down so that in case something happened where we lost it, we can find it. So it's still there. It's in the hieroglyphics. The whole story is there. Debt is the gun, credit is the bullet. Speak that shit. Yep, monopoly money. Oh, yeah. So Charles is the last name Charles that's the Virginia clans. And study Charleston, Virginia, how it got its name, and you would trace your clan back to how they got overthrown. Credit is the bullet, discharge is the gun. Speak that shit. Yep. So I got blessed in on the godmother knock off of Miss Thompson, who was out of Tupelo, Mississippi. Anybody last name Ivory comes from a matriarchal clan, and the ivory is the symbol for the elephant. The Carters are the ones who used to own the buggies. Y'all would be taxi drivers in this era. I'll put it that way. I'm going to save this live. I'm about done. I'm just going through here and making sure it's like the Colemans. The Colemans were actual miners who have first right to all of the coal wealth generated on the land since we've been in bondage. It's all counted for. All of the coal that's been sold is going to be y'all family wealth. The Brooks come from the Creek Indian tribe as a spinoff. That's why they call it a brook, because it's a creek. And the Creek and the Cree are related tribes, but they different tribes because they had different tribal leadership at different times. The Tucker clan is an old clan that goes way back. And the Tucker automobile was shut down because he was a mulatto related to the Tucker clan, and they wasn't allowing us or anybody related to us to come up with their own shit. The Murrays came from Ireland in a student exchange program under the orders of Queen Scala. I don't know every name off the top of my head, but it wouldn't take me long to figure a lot of them out. So if I don't mention the name that you bring up that I see, is because that one ain't on the top of my head. But if something stand out, or if somebody tell me to tell them, then I'll speak on it. So the Jenkins clan were kindred to what we call the genies or the jinn. The genies were a group of women who controlled the fire element. They was firebenders. That's all. All that Islamic perturbability and over sensationalism of the jinn, and you can't figure the jinn out. It's some bullshit. The genies were magicians, and they call one of the genie by itself is a jinn. That's it. They could grant wishes because they control desire of the heart. It's just that simple. And the desire is the fire that they control. Tim Marie, Rick James, fire and desire. McCullen is also one of the names from the Orisha or the Irish. Everybody from the land, on the land, is related. It's not if we all related. We all related, except for the invaders. But we even related to them now, because we amalgamated with the invaders too, because they tried to steal our birthright using amalgamation and misdirection as the method, but it didn't work, because we know who we is. The Hawkins is it's a tribal totem of the hawk, right? The burrow was the tribal totem of the ass. And the ones whose last name was Burroughs, what they clan's responsibility was to transport large quantities of basically the moving company. The Porter family used to be the ones who controlled the waterways coming into land, the ports. The Porters were the ones who loaded and unloaded ships. And they also traveled on trains. That was a family business, so to speak. So once your family, like let's say the blacksmiths, they got iron. Anybody that's into any kind of smelting fall under the blacksmith. So let's say you are a gold smelter and you a goldsmith. The oldest of the two is the blacksmith. So the blacksmith can honor or dishonor a goldsmith's position based off their skill set. So let's say that a goldsmith come to town, but he have no relatives that can okay him to become a certified goldsmith in his land. He can go to the blacksmith. The blacksmith who got a leader, a tribal leader, can validate him. Because he's an older clan, he can validate the goldsmith as a smelter once he see his work. So he got to show him what he can do, and then he can say, this is a goldsmith for real. He a real goldsmith. Now, he not going to write this shit down nowhere, but he going to introduce you to the family. That's enough. We ain't write that shit down. We introduced you to the family. Now, Big Mama wrote it in the book. We call it the Book of Life, but Big Mama got it in the book. It's in her book. The Clay family were potters. They also related to the Potters. The Holmes family were, drop the L. Tell me what y'all did. The Holmes family were Holmes family, which means they were realtors on the land. That means that each Big Mama in each area had somebody come from the Holmes family in order to show us the new home designs that's on the market, how we build our homes, the material. And Big Mama call in somebody in her family and say, this is the homes you're studying under so we can build these houses. So the Walker clan were nomads. That's why they called walkers, because they was walking everywhere they went. Now remember, I'm not going to have them all on top of my head right now. So the ones that I do, I'm just spitting them out. I'm trying to get to the end of the question so I could wrap this shit up. Black Panther is the totem animal for the priesthood on the land to recover the land from the enemy, period. And the worst motherfucker that they don't ever want to call is what they call the gorilla clan, the Congo clan. And the Congo over here is called the Mississippi Basin. We Mississippians. You don't have to find all your family origins. You're gonna have a family reunion on the flip side of this shit, and you're gonna automatically know where to go. Yeah, so look, I gotta get off here. I gotta go in here and talk to my little brother. So you're right. He said, I keep telling people they have banks still kept in their name connected to those credit lines. And the Social Security number is the bank account number, what they call an international bank number, minus the hyphens, and you can check, and you will blow your own self back when you find out how much you got in your personal account. Yeah, so I think I covered for the most part. So the theme of this is they ain't tricking us no more. Class has been in session. We done told these motherfuckers that we know who we is and where our shit at. Now, when I go back over the culture with Dane Calloway, whenever he reach out to me, I'm gonna tell him exactly where the record's at and what he's supposed to do is degree it. He don't need to be approved by nobody but us. All we gotta do is say we agree. That's it. That's how we roll. So I'm gonna wrap it up from here, and I wish these comments would have saved in here because y'all got some good comments in here. Oh, he brought up the Wilmington Massacre. Anytime they tell you your family was wiped out in the massacre, it means either two things. Either your family is the family that's the imposter stealing somebody's birthright, or they stealing your birthright. We know who we are. So this gives you that take you a long way. Right? So with that, I'm looking here, somebody got some questions in here. The Graysons, those who are from the Grayson line or Gray line, come out of the cold weather. That's called being on the gray. They normally ran lighthouses. So I'm gonna wrap this one up. I'm gonna save it. I'm surprised I was able to get this much in, and I'm gonna make sure it's saved though, so y'all can come back to it. All right. So peace. Tell them all we ain't come on no ships. We not buying the bullshit, and we out of here. We taking our shit back. That's just simple as that. Yeah. All right, fam. So I hope I was of some service and some help to y'all. That's ISIS land. All of what they call the North is ISIS land. The cold part. That's why they call her the Ice Princess. And Thoth is called Loki, the one they try to keep from the throne.
Yeah.
Right? But in different cultures, he's different things, because in China, he's the Monkey King. But in India, he's the Hanuman. And you look in the Egyptian pantheon, he's the only one that deal with primates.
Wow.
And the gorilla is the last major totem to rise to pharaonic prominence. That's why it's not in the hieroglyphs. So whoever got the gorilla key is the one coming to knock this shit free. And Garvey brought the gorilla key.
Yeah.
And that's why they created the Pan-African movement, to tell us what was going on both sides of the water simultaneously.
Yeah. No, yeah, because the guy who created it, when he did the conference in London, he called different nations, and apparently they had two meetings, one with like everybody, an unofficial meeting, and another
You
just African.
You're talking about Pan-Africanism under James Delaney. That's not what we're talking about. When we trace our Pan-Africanism back, it stopped at two people. It stopped at W.E.B. Du Bois, and
I'm talking about that one.
And Marcus.
I'm talking about that. Yeah, that one.
Okay, now it's another faction of Pan-Africanism that goes back before them. And those were the ones we hijacked, because they was the ones hijacking us.
Yep.
So everything they used to oppress us, we took that shit so we can use it for our come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at my receipts from, I think, yesterday, it's a cyclone thing in there about Cyclone Marcus when this shit started. And they go all the way up to Hurricane. Well, I didn't put Hurricane Larry in the post, but that's the Knox.
No, Hell Week is coming. Hell Week is coming this week, especially with every meditation.
Well, the Oracle said the Oracles and already gave the dates, the 7th and the 8th. If we don't see three kings on the land, Big Mama's gonna tear some shit up, and she's supposed to be opening a portal.
Because when you said free Larry Hoover, something came to my mind. If they don't do it, it's gonna be done. It's gonna be done, whether they like it or not. It's gonna be done. Because this shit, this shit has to end. This shit has to end somewhere. And I'm glad you said you rather have the satisfaction of you seeing them squeal, because the person who said Larry Hoover was dead, that is like, why that's a stupid motherfucker. That is stupid motherfucker, who the person who said that shit. For that,
Yeah, that's provable though. See, they can't prove that he did, but I can prove he alive. You know, but I'm working on Big Mama time, so we gonna prove that shit when we need to.
no, true. No, yeah. No, keep exposing them. Keep exposing them. Keep spreading the knowledge. Keep exposing these fools.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna tell it like it is. Mama said, stand in the position to right and tell the truth, and the rest will take care of itself.
What you did is something that I've been learning to do. That I've only mastered it for a year. Whenever you sense a fraud, like, you let the people first speak up, and then you just drag, like, the people drag them out, and then you just like full
Everybody
on
don't
attack.
get the same strategy though. It's a reason for that strategy. Because once the grievance is vexed, the universal order say I have to answer the grievance.
Yeah,
So
true.
when I first had a grievance, it became inconsequential because it was only my grievance. So now I gotta let the people complain sufficiently to make me perform the function, and then I gotta look for the signs from Big Mama to say, do what they said.
No, true.
No, so
That's true.
every righteous woman in my life, from past, present to future, gave me the same sign on the same day. And they said, watch what Big Mama